I get that question all the time. Yeah. Are you gonna name this after yourself? I was like, no, I can't do it.
But would you?
No, absolutely not. One of my jobs is to describe species new to science, and I described 53 new species so far in my career, one of which is the smallest vertebrate in the world, a small tiny frog, about 7.7 millimeters in length, from Papua New Guinea. Determining whether a frog or a snake or a lizard is a new species sometimes is quite easy. They're really different looking, sometimes not so easy. We look at, and for frogs, for example, the calls. So we look at how different those frog calls are from other members of the same genus. We also look at DNA sequences and morphology to determine that they're actually new species. One of the best ways to find a calling frog is to triangulate that frog. So you have two people, one person over here, one person over here, and you're both listening for the frog, and you point in the direction where you think the frog is coming from. The next really difficult thing to do is, and we need to record that frog call, because each frog species has a different frog call. Finding that frog that's actually calling amongst dozens of frogs calling can be really difficult. And it's because as you approach a frog, the male frogs that are calling, as you approach that male frog, they go quiet because they think a predator is approaching. And so one of the difficulties of doing field work in recording frogs is getting close enough to the frog to record it, usually about a foot or 2 feet away from the frog. They can call from high up in the tree canopy. They can be calling from burrows underneath the ground, and they can be calling from underneath really dense leaf litter or underneath a log. And so we need to get within maybe half a meter, a foot or two, in order to get a good recording from that frog, to then input that recording into a computer to analyze similarities and differences between that frog and other members of its genus. So the process by which new species is described is actually pretty regimented. There's actually a rule book put out by the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature that sets out the rules for how species should be described. And the reason that rule book is so important is because it adds stability for taxonomy, which is the science of naming species. Choosing a name for a new species, there's lots of options. My preferred option is something that's either descriptive, whether the frog or lizard has stripes or spots, so you can come up with a specific epithet, that's the species name, that describes how the species looks. Another approach I've used is geographic. For example, the smallest vertebrate in the world, that frog, Pedophrine amoensis, was found near the Amau River, and thus the specific epithet amoensis refers to where it came from. One of the key rules, one of the main rules, is you cannot name a new species after yourself. One semi-infamous story collecting frogs from the Parari River in Papua New Guinea is my good friend and colleague Louis and I were out looking for frogs, and we thought this frog was in a tree, and as we're looking for this frog, a wasp flew out and bit me on the lower lip. Very painful for about 3 days, but I eventually overcame.